Jodi Barrett is the CEO and lead instructor for Kettlebell Kickboxing Canada. And she came down here with us to help us keep healthy and get warmed up and ready for the surf. She actually had us training online with her 3 months prior to as well to get everybody kind of physically prepared. And Jodi, just want to say welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
All righty. So let's get on into this right now. Let's just go ahead and start from the beginning. To kind of describe your childhood in Bengough, kind of some of the things that happened to you along the way as a child that may have impacted you to get you where you are today.
All right. Well, childhood in small town, I think it's pretty, you don't realize until you're after and out about how fortunate you were because you got to do everything, right? Because, raising my kids in the city now, I see that they were limited to, they had to always go into a specific area because of numbers. And we were able to do everything as kids, every sport, every activity. And it was really that sense of community. Like that they say it takes a village to raise a child.
Yeah.
And you get that in a small community. Like my friends' parents were my step-parents, right? Because you'd spend weekends there. And so I think, that molds you because you kind of think about your community and then you take that forth, into as you grow up. Not really even knowing that it's there until after the fact. So. Yeah,
so for a little context, what do you mean by small? What do you consider a small
small?
Town? Yeah.
Well, where I first started kindergarten
was,
I think there was 20 people. So it was like a village.
Right.
Or what would they call it? Hamlet. Right?
A hamlet, yeah.
Yeah. And then in
the Shire.
grade 4, we had to go to, we bused to another school. And that was, I think there was never more than 500 in the school from K to 12.
Yeah.
So, small.
Any defining experiences, like what really, other than the size and the sense of community, what are some specific things that might have happened that you would have said, yeah, this kind of defines me as a person?
In the small community?
Yeah.
I don't even know if there was anything as a, childhood-wise. There was some life stuff, on the home front, that, took place. But we never, I don't know, things are different now. How you talk about stuff more than you used to,
right, yep.
But then we just kind of, so that would be a huge defining moment.
Okay, yep.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
But that stuff I never go into too much because I always that's kind of, I will later because I know you have a couple of questions and I'll touch on a little bit more.
Yeah, you bet, yeah.
But a lot of things I find when you share, it's easier to share when it's just your own story a little bit more. Yeah. But when it comes to other people's stories, it gets a little bit more.
Right. Oh, I see. Yeah. So thinking about that, maybe go into the farm stuff, growing up on a farm. So give us some of the things that you experienced, circle life-wise maybe, or however you want to describe it as on a farm. And because that's what I'm kind of trying to get at, is a little bit of defining experience, right?
Yeah, it is a circle life. You grew up with, I can compare now because I had kids that grew up in the city, and you learn, you get up and you work, right? Or I always say when you got home from school, it wasn't just sit and lay it. Like I always had kids, my friends in town, they just would chill out. We'd be like, okay, you got to switch out your clothes right away, put on your work clothes, farm clothes, and do chores, right?
Right.
All that stuff. And then just the circle of life of, we raised cattle, we had chickens, we had everything. So I mean, you value and appreciate that. That was also the stuff that fed you at the end of the day, right?
Yeah.
So.
What was your chores?
What were my chores?
Yeah.
Oh, I always had girl chores.
Like what would that be?
Girl chores would be like it was back then. I can go back then.
Yeah.
Like even just the in the house stuff, the cleaning, and then eventually the cooking. So you had that. I always thought I was kind of. My brother always used to get on me a lot because he's had to do the hard stuff, like the outdoor stuff. But I got clever with this because I really enjoyed being outside. So I would always be like, hey Dad, can I just come hang out with you? And my mom would be like, really? And then my dad would always take me.
Yeah. So where'd you guys go? What'd you do with your dad as you hung out with him? What was some of moments that?
Just like honestly, like we had a farm, like our initial farm, and then we had one probably. It was 45 minutes an hour. So when we would move equipment,
Yeah.
you'd have to drive in a tractor. So even as a little girl, I would ride in the tractor with my dad. I'd spend all day with him. He'd have tea parties in the tractor with me.
He lets you drive?
Yeah, well, I would sit on his knee.
Yeah. That's about it.
Yeah.
Those are some of the defining moments I think from my childhood. I had the same kind of experience at the farm. So yeah, I got it. Yeah.
So I mean, I would get out of stuff my mom would want me to do because my dad, I could hang out with my dad, right?
Yeah. Right.
But just hang out. He put my brother to work.
So, all right. What was your favorite animals then as you were growing up on the farm? I'm just kind of curious on what you.
Favorite animals?
Yeah.
Horses.
Horses. Okay. How many horses do you have?
We had about 5.
Okay.
We had one that you could ride like just bareback. So it'd be like all you needed was a bridle.
Yeah.
But we'd fall off that horse so many times, honestly, because we would get laughing and being ridiculous as kids.
Yeah.
Like I could say I fell off a horse a lot.
Yeah.
Just because we would get laughing and somebody would end up on the ground.
Yep.
Yep.
So now, kind of going into the teenage years, then had some notes here about you moving out every summer, going to the pool. So kind of describe that a little bit and give the audience a sense of your teenage years.
Yeah, I think it was one of the most unique experiences.
Okay.
And I look back on it, I think I can't believe that my parents actually let us do that. Because we were about 20 minutes, half an hour maybe from where we both worked, me and my brother. He worked at the gas station, I worked at the swimming pool. So instead of having us drive every day, odd hours.
How far away was it?
Like 20 minutes.
Oh, okay.
Or 20, half an hour. Like
Oh, wow.
it wasn't crazy far.
Yeah, no kidding.
Right? Like
Yeah.
in the city now, I think, well, my kids would drive for work. Like that's not a big deal. But we would rent a house and we would stay for the summer. Like 2 months out of the summer. So
Wow.
that started at age 14. So we might have got in a little bit of trouble, if you can only imagine. But
What'd you do? Give me one example that won't tube somebody's background too bad.
we just had a lot of good fun.
Okay, all right. No fires were set?
No,
No walls broken down?
No.
No TVs thrown out the window?
No. I'm trying to think. Yeah, just a lot of late nights and,
Yeah.
carousing around. But it was good. It was, I respect the fact that my parents actually trusted us too.
Yeah.
When your parents do, there's a teaching thing. There's a thing that when they give you that,
Yeah.
you carry that. So you also don't want to mess that up
Right.
too, right?
Right. Okay. So what about some sports then? You were in high school. And so you get back from your what was then an Airbnb for a couple of months back at home. So what kind of sports did you play, and what was your favorite?
Probably played all of them, like volleyball, basketball, badminton. Depended on the season that you were in, right? But I think basketball, I was like, you know how tall I am.
I was gonna say basketball.
I was like, I was the number 1 scorer in the division.
Really?
Yeah.
Awesome.
I used to think that was so cool until I moved to the city and went to university, and I realized the number difference. I'm like, it's a good thing I grew up there because I fared better in a smaller community.
Well, that's right though. So opportunities that may not have, so that's one of those defining moments.
Yes.
Opportunities that may not have appeared
Yes.
at a big,
Yes.
high school.
Right?
Yeah, that's going to be.
Because when I went to university and I thought about, well, could I play volleyball? Because I loved volleyball.
Yeah.
And then I got some friends that were on the volleyball team, and I'm like, oh, no, probably not. I'll go to the rec division.
So you're the setter. That's really about all you got.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Okay. One thing I also wanted to talk about is you're going through some of the beginnings. You had talked about, and you're going to get ready to do a Tough Mudder, and just kind of what drew you. I kind of just want you to kind of explain what drew you to those. When did you start those, and why do you still do those right now? It kind of just to kind of round out the beginning, if you will.
Yeah. Well, my first one was a Spartan. It was a 5K.
Okay.
I did it myself, and.
Was this up in Canada or down in the States?
Yeah, that one was in Yeah, they were all in Canada.
Canada,
That
okay.
was in Calgary, so it was just like a 7-hour drive.
Okay.
But it was easy. I remember because they had a thing where you had to crawl through the mud.
Yeah.
And then I was in the back of my mind because I had separated just before that, and I remember thinking, "This is how my life feels. I am going through the mud." And then I was like, I can do this by myself.
You're like, this is cool,
also, right?
Yeah, right?
Yeah. So it was good, but when I was done, I was not satisfied.
In what way?
Because it wasn't hard enough, and I don't know why. I don't know why I like hard things. I guess because it's a challenge.
Yeah.
But a lot of people always say, you don't always have to do the hard, right? And so I have to sit and think about that sometimes, because I think sometimes you get used to doing that, right? And I always talk to people about, like I've talked to ladies too about, they get so used to the struggle they're in that they don't even see that that becomes part of who you are. So you need to step back out of that and move on to the other stuff, right? I always consider it like, we always talk about we're surviving. I had to talk to the lady the other day, and I'm like, she's like, I'm just surviving. Like, I'm a survivor.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you need to stop surviving and start thriving, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
so
awesome.
that's the Tough Mudders. Those all kind of, I think, were life things too. And then the next one I did was in Whistler, and I did it with a group of 16 people. And I was, saying how it was a unique experience because we did it together. And it was like, that one when I was done, I was like,
This is hard enough.
I'm like, do I have to walk back to the car? Can they bring me a bus, please?
Yeah, check. Got the hard one. All right.
Yeah.
Great. What made it hard compared to the first one? Just longer?
It was longer.
Okay.
It was in the mountains.
Okay. Oh, high altitude.
And the obstacles. Like, we trained for them. The hardest one I did was the jumping you ran for 6K and then you jumped into the ice bucket. And you had to swim under there's the board. So you couldn't just jump in and come out. You actually had to go under.
Yeah.
And I remember going under and coming up, and my brain's like, get moving, get out of here. And I'm like, but my body, and it was like, wow, that was such a disconnect. Cool, but not cool in the moment.
Right.
Because you're like, okay, move. Why am I not moving? Right?
Yeah.
And then I got out, and I think my eyeballs were steaming. It was really weird. And if I was to do it again, I think that would be one that I would have to actually go, okay, that's a real obstacle. I remember how it felt. It wasn't very good.
But you survived, obviously,
Yes.
and you're going back for another.
Yes.
So that's a kind of a insight into your personality and mindset, which is what I really appreciate.
Yeah.
This is a good segue then. So getting into the internal combustion part of the interview, think about what motivates you to do what you do. Something that we can talk about, either how'd you get, what started you in the fitness profession. Why do you think when you started, you were successful in that profession, and then 3, you became a successful business owner? So what kind of things drive you that may separate you from other people that don't succeed in that endeavors that you're doing right now?
I think probably persistence. If somebody was to ask me what would be the biggest, how to describe myself,
Yeah.
I think that would be the word.
Yeah.
Like, I'm probably annoyingly persistent. So if I have something in mind of what I want to do, like, I won't stop until I get there.
Yeah. What if you can articulate it, what's the thing that makes you, when you focus on something, what's the thing that makes you continue to do, say, okay, I got it and I'm not going to stop? Is there something, little switch goes on or something inside you? What do you think?
It's that thing that when I make a promise to myself,
Yeah.
so my internal dialogue that I've worked on a lot is, man, I can't let myself down. Like, I remember one day I was talking to my dad when I bought into the Canadian region, and he was so mad at me, and he's like, you're gonna do it anyways. And he did drop a couple F-bombs there. And I was like, and it was the first, and that wasn't good. I was a grown adult in my 40s. It was the first time I was like, how when you grow up, you want your parents to be proud of you.
Right.
Right? It was the first probably moment where I was super proud of what I'd done and what I was going to do. And I thought that was the coolest moment. I remember driving back to the city with my kids. And when you get some of that internal strength and that internal power and where you're proud, nobody will ever touch that.
Yeah.
That is beautiful, I think, because nobody will take that away. And if someone thinks less of you, and I think that comes with age too, as when people say, well, I don't really care what anybody else thinks anymore. And that's just because when you become so okay inside, where you go. So that was a big, and that's, I think, you know, that whole internal dialogue when you don't want to let yourself down. That's huge. And I think, so when I do, like, because I do those push-ups every day.
Yeah, I know.
And it's, you know, because I share it all the time on my social media that I'm doing them, like, and that I got them done. And I don't have to, but, and if somebody said, well, you didn't have to do them today, and you wouldn't post them, and you could just say you did them. But I'm like, I would know I wouldn't. And that, I got to go to bed with that.
Yeah.
And maybe a push-up doesn't seem like a grandiose thing, but it's the little things, the habits that you create that make up the bigger things, right?
Yeah.
So.
Because the old make your bed philosophy.
Yeah. Right. And it's the same thing too about I had somebody like, they're like, well, somebody said, don't you ever just sit around and look slobby? And I'm like, well, of course I probably do, maybe. And then I thought about it, and for a week I tracked how I dressed or what I wore, and I'm like, and then I said, you know what? It's the same thing. Make your bed. It's like, get up. And when we went through COVID, and everybody's like wearing their sweats, and, you know. But everybody felt that too, right? Yeah. Like, even when I talk about it, this is the posture that I bring.
So, kind of round out the internal combustion one. One thing I'm really interested in. A good friend of mine does a lot of coaching for folks that quote unquote retire as they get past their primary role and as they saw in life. He will be the guy that helps you figure out what you're going to do next. But I'm just kind of curious, given our talk about internal combustion and things like that, once you get past your current role, and you've talked about doing different things, what do you see? One being, what do you think about you're going to do, say, the next 10 years or 20 years, however far you want to look out? And is it same internal combustion, or you think it's going to be something a little bit different? And when you get past, Kettlebell Kickboxing Canada.
Past the push-ups.
Yeah. What do you think?
I think there'll always be like a component with people, obviously, but more I think more like the more wellness, the more internal dialogue, less physical in a sense, right? Because I do know that as you get older, right, you don't, like, it'll always be their physical part of it, but like for me anyways, like, because I'm in the studio so much right now that I know I don't necessarily want to sustain that, right? So definitely
swab the mats every night.
Right? Yeah. Well, I even transitioned out of that because it used to be like I used to clean the studio too. So I would teach all week, and I was the one I now have somebody that comes in and does that part too. But it's very humbling to do that.
Yes, I think it's necessary.
And I think it's part of the process, right? And it's also a very proud moment of, I painted the trim, I scrubbed, I did the grout, all that, and now I'm cleaning it, and now I can step back a little bit and say,
who besides you is going to care more about your work than you? Right?
And nobody ever will.
Right.
And that's a reality too, that I think a lot of people, when they get started, they think that everybody cares as much as you do. And it's like, no. And that's okay.
Yeah.
Right? That's
absolutely. Yeah. Yep.
So.
Cool. All right. So let's get into some of the Phoenix aspect of this. So, like I've always said, we've all had moments in our life we hit rock bottom. Okay. Kind of take us through a couple of those journeys. One, what caused you to hit rock bottom? And two, how did you pull yourself out of it? What motivated you? What got you back to a successful businesswoman?
My rock bottom. I think mine would be, I tell the story all the time, the gym story.
Yeah.
Right. My kids were all in school, and I probably was training ridiculous amounts. Well, probably. There's no probably about it. Like, I would go to the gym in the morning, and I'd be there for 2 to 3 hours. Probably 4 maybe 5 times a week. Well, 5 times. Let's be more getting honest. And then I would run besides that. And I wouldn't go out for like a 2K. I would be running probably 10K 3 times a week.
What was motivating you to be that fit?
My headspace.
Okay. So it wasn't a profession. This is something just for you.
That was just,
Yeah.
it started when my kids were little. I would get up and I'd go swimming in the morning before everybody was up so that
Okay.
I could have just some time for myself.
Yeah.
Because I was always, and that's why I always loved fitness and training, because it was always such a mental thing for me too, like kind of escape from everything. So it was always there. Well, you had it since I was a kid.
Right.
Right? You used that to help level out things. And then I started using it too much. And I didn't even, you don't recognize it, right? I do remember sitting at the table and my kids are like, "Man, your arms look like a man's." I remember that. And I was like, thanks. I'm feeling like that wasn't a very positive connotation, but whatever. But the one day I went to the gym and I totally capable, strength, endurance. And I sat on the bench and I caught a glimpse of myself in the mirror and I thought, wow, I can't lift a thing. Didn't want to lift a thing. You just feel like you're just done before you even get started.
Wow.
And that was my rock bottom moment. And I left, I grabbed my bag, I walked to the little lake. We have a little bridge there, and I stood there and I cried for I don't know how long. And I just knew that I needed to do something. And
Well, to me, that's a symptom, though. So what got you to the rock bottom?
rock bottom?
Yeah. What caused you to not be able to pick up that weight? Was it?
I just not recognizing all the work I needed to do internally.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
Right?
All right.
So externally I could take care of myself physically, right?
Yeah.
Put all the work. But just getting to the point where I've exhausted myself because I've overtrained.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And recognizing that. And I think looking at it, I think it was a beautiful moment now because it was a reflection of I'm so strong on the outside. And there's so much internal work. But at the same time, because I used to always say, that was a moment I felt broken. And I look back on it now and I said, that was a moment I got brave.
Yeah.
Because I was like, when I decided, because that was my rock bottom was to leave my marriage. And everything changed.
Gotcha.
But it was that moment to be brave enough to go that I had 4 other individuals' lives to think about.
Yeah.
And, maybe people will think that's selfish.
Yeah.
But in the roundabout way, I don't think it is, because I think everybody's life should be meaningful.
Yeah.
And so it was the moment I kind of decided I had to pony up.
Yeah.
Make
So
some
what did
changes.
you do to pony up? What got you? Okay, I'm at rock bottom. Now
Yep.
what?
I knew I needed to leave, in a sense.
Yeah.
That part, not leave my children, but the dynamic of that needed to change. And my entire world changed. It was not easy. And anybody that you talk to that goes through that process,
Yeah.
they will tell you the exact same thing.
Yeah.
But things I've gotten to do, like I know I wouldn't have ever, someone said to me, well, would you have done, your business in that dynamic? And I know I wouldn't have, because I'm not that person. Right? So, yeah.
And so again, to keep you a little bit of context, so you started over at age 41, right? Okay, so to me that's even more amazing and a tribute to the focus and just the internal drive you needed to have to start over at age 41. What about, so as it's your birthday next month, right? All right, 47?
47.
Yeah, so I'm just gonna round up to 50.
You're just going to throw me in the 50? I don't think so.
Well, the question they got though is what would a 50-year-old Jody tell a 20-year-old Jody?
Oh, everyone asks me that question all the time. She wouldn't have listened, regardless.
Why not?
Because you think at 20, you think you know it all, right? I think I would have said, probably, be kind to yourself
Yeah.
and patient,
Yeah.
and I work on patience every day.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes when we think about it, we end up having to work on it more.
Yeah.
But just be kind, because we're so hard on ourselves,
Yeah.
right?
Absolutely.
And we think we should know. And then I always think that too. Everyone's like, when I talk to men and women, they're like, well, I just want to know where I am. And I'm like, because when I went through after I left, because I struggled with that too, until I decided that I needed to be and just be. So I always tell people, well, you don't have to know what tomorrow is, maybe. Maybe you just have to be here, right? And that was just like this, the retreat here.
Yeah.
It was like just being present.
Correct.
Instead of trying to figure it out all the time, right?
Right.
Because we're always trying to figure it out. And I'm like, maybe if we stop trying so hard, it will come to us. And
Maybe.
I kind of think with my business, that's kind of how it, I picked up a bell. I don't know what it is, and I will never, ever be able to describe it other than a core feeling that I had at a center of balance with it. And it just rolled. Bart had talked about on the retreat here about
find the ball, find your ball. Yeah.
And I always knew that when I found my ball, which was my kettlebell, that it's never about a kettlebell.
No.
Right? It's like, that's how I met you, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's something that brings things together.
Yeah, so almost like an avatar to a certain extent, right? So again, good way to kind of move on a little bit here. So always a little bit eclectic on my subject matter. One's the Forrest Gump, right? So you got the lovable character, and I make fun of you because you never know any movies. You watch Forrest Gump?
I do, but not as much as you have.
Right? So
I kind of forgot about that.
So, Forrest Gump, I'll explain it to you.
Okay.
A lovable character who kind of backs his way through life. Awarded the Medal of Honor. He makes $1 million and he has a IQ of about 80, right? But he's just a lovable, big-hearted character. And it's one of my favorite movies. I actually kind of just describe my whole life as being Forrest Gump in my way through life, because I've had a lot of opportunities come out of the blue, out of left field.
Yeah.
The whole film we saw the other night at the retreat, that's typical of things that happen to me. Yeah. Give me a couple examples where you've got just an incredible gift out of the blue, out of left field, and how did you take advantage of that to move forward in your life?
Well, I kind of think that this moment with coming down here with you guys.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Right? Like, I don't, like, there's always been, I don't know if there's a specific one. It's just taking, bizarre things would happen. Like, even the fact that I went to New York and did
I was going to bring that up if you didn't. Yeah. So you had decided, so what prompted you going to New York, and what drove you to say, yeah, this is it, right? Yeah.
I just didn't want to, like, I had my kids, and I didn't want to, I just thought I always think that there's something more. And so when I went there, it was like, everyone's like, you're crazy. And I'm like, I know.
I'm different.
Right? I always say I'm a good crazy.
Yep.
There's all the different kinds. But so I did that. Well, I guess maybe that when they wanted me to do the region, like the Canadian. And I was like, I remember she called and the kids, and I think I screamed after I got off the phone. And they're like, what's wrong? What's going on? And I'm like, I have this opportunity. And I didn't really, none of it I ever laid out a plan for.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I wanted to get certified.
That was it.
That was really, well, and I wanted her to hire me, so that was the other flip of the coin.
Oh, who's she?
So she's the one who owns the company out of New York.
New York, okay.
Right?
Yeah.
But,
what's her name? I don't know if I have it.
Dasha.
Okay, yeah.
So that was just an idea, right? And then I think everything just rolled out of it.
And where did you pick up the kickboxing aspect of it? And was that part of it, or was that?
Yep.
Okay, so into the training you did with that.
Yeah. So martial arts.
And so, you talk about the kettlebell a lot. What do you get out of martial arts? I loved you posted something one time, and you were just kicking the living dog shit. Sorry, out of a bag, and I was like, yeah, right on. I mean, that's so. What was the passion that you found for martial arts then?
Yeah, well, Muay Thai training. I just like if you even punch and kick something there. I remember the first time that I sparred with my trainer. He was so good. Like, he just let me hit him a lot without hitting me back, because he could have. And I remember, like, going into that, after I did it, I went in the change room and I was exhausted because I didn't breathe. because I was like, the adrenaline was so high.
Yep.
But because there's a discipline with that too. Like you can't just punch and kick, but to get the technique, you have to show up and you got to practice. And I love that, right? And I haven't met a ton of martial artists, but when I do, their sense of a bigger picture, I feel with the people I've met is there. Like one of my good buddy, he does ninjutsu, and I saw him get his black belt one night.
Oh wow! Yeah.
And just the human that he is, like he's got the discipline and the training, but his compassion, his view on life.
Yeah.
And I think that comes with the training, and that's the draw for me there.
This is why you enjoyed it out here, didn't you?
Oh yeah.
The same kind of thing.
Yeah. Well, that was incredible.
It's a process,
right?
You go through a process.
Yeah, like the teaching, where you guys have the start spot in the little pool area. You called it the
penalty box.
The penalty box.
Yeah.
But it's
the positive opportunity boxes.
Right?
We rebranded it this time. Yeah. A little more. Yeah, in a positive sense. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's the process.
Yeah.
Like I think you can get addicted to that too, right?
Yep.
You know, even
Exhibit A.
Right?
Yeah.
But it's the hard. Like, and I was like, the water was my biggest challenge. Not water because I know how to swim, but in a pool or in a lake, not in an ocean.
Not when the surf is 8 to 10.
Right? And so I'm coming up to that first time we're going in there, and I'm looking at this thing, and it's just daunting. But when you get out there, and then you're like, you have to do hard things. You have to do scary things to get you out of that comfort zone. We talk about it, do the uncomfortable. Sometimes I think we talk about it so much it deflates how it feels, right? Because you know how you throw words around in social media.
Totally.
It's like, just go be uncomfortable. And then you say it so much, nobody really even knows what that means.
And you get out there and it's like, wow, this really sucks, you know? And you're like,
Yeah, it has to.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Because you won't get out of it what you need to.
Right.
It doesn't. So.
All right. What about, we talked a little bit about why how kettlebell, and it's the same thing for me in surfing. I really have a hard time describing why it does what it does, but this is the cleansing your soul moment. What do you do in addition to, slinging the kettlebell? What are some of the things that Jody does to cleanse your soul? We talked about it. I mean, I go out there. That's what I do. It's a literal and metaphorical washing when you get out there. And I talked about the energy you get out of the ocean. You've seen that as you go over those big old swells, and your eyes are about this big, right? Or you see a turtle and you just smile.
Yes.
That's what cleanses me.
Yeah.
What cleanses you to kind of make you ready for the next day?
Mountains.
Mountains.
Mountains are my favorite.
Yeah.
I think maybe because I have access to them, like it still takes me 8 hours to get there if I drive, but.
That's outside Calgary, up in Banff and all that? Okay.
And I think, I don't know, and I same thing, I can't really, there is something very magical and powerful. Like I'll drive into the mountains and I'll be driving and singing and all of a sudden I'll be like, oh, why am I crying? Because I don't know, it just pulls that out of me where you just, and you go on a hike and you stop and you look up, and I love that. This is going to sound weird. I love the fact that you can have a moment where you feel very insignificant. Where you look up at a mountain and you're like, oh, I'm so small in this big picture.
Yep.
But in the same breath, everyone's still part of that. But I think it's just important to step back, and even out on the water, right? You're like you guys talk about, it's alive. Mm-hmm. It's so true, and you get out there and you feel the waves and you feel small.
Yeah, yeah.
Right? So.
Yeah. So any particular favorite place you have mountain-wise? Or is that your favorite up in Banff?
Well,
that's what you know.
That's what I know.
Yeah.
And it's my I like going back to places that too. Like I love adventuring, going places, but I like the comfort of a place that's special that you go back to, and when you've worked through some stuff in life and you can go back to that spot, because when you go back to that spot, you feel like you've progressed, and you can sit and have a moment and you go, I remember when I come back here when this was going on, and I'm like, man, come a long ways.
Come
right?
a long ways, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, all right, coming down toward the end here, let's see here. What are your top 3 goals for the next 10 years?
Oh, top 3.
Not
That's
2,
good.
not 4.
Top 3. Probably build my business so that I can spend some more time with my family.
Okay.
Travel. And a goal, business-wise, my online, grow that
Yeah.
with retreats.
How about one personal? What's your one personal goal besides travel? And family?
Always easier to look at business side of it, right?
Yes, it is. That's why I'm asking the question.
Right? That's why you threw that in there. Personal goal. That's a great question. And I feel like you can always get a little bit better at everything and being more, I kind of feel like the last year I've come to more of that goal where I'm just like content. It's a hard place to get to.
It is. Yeah.
Right? And I feel pretty good there. You know, we talked about it last night about loving yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And I always think, because I'm single, so I think that everybody has an idea. Like people always say, why? And
Yep.
I'm like, why does it matter so much?
Right, yeah.
But I think that we all want to have a partner, and we search. Do people search for? Yeah, I think so. But I was thinking last night. I actually got up and I wrote because I'm like, the biggest love of your life, when you figure it out, it is yourself.
Right?
Right?
Perfect.
Yeah. And I think maybe that's a continuing goal.
Yeah, there's a lot of things in life that it's like surfing or golf or any of those things that you never get it always 100% right.
Yeah. So,
But you got to keep working toward it.
and
right?
I think that would be a goal, is just continue to that self-love. And I think everything, once you get that, I think everything starts to trickle in.
Yep.
Right?
Yep. All right. So, the last question. What's your top 3 scars?
My childhood would be my top scar there. Do you want me to go into them?
A little bit, yeah. Just as much as you feel comfortable with.
I don't know.
A lesson learned from it, right? So you.
Yeah.
Okay.
You just learn, I think, forgiveness. You never have to, I always think you never have to forget, but if you truly want to move forward, you forgive and let go.
Yeah.
And I had some stuff that went on.
Yeah.
And that was a pretty big healing moment within my family unit. But I know that what happens to you doesn't define you, but it is part of you, right?
I'm going to use that.
Yeah. And I'll ask you again, what did I say? What I said, but you'll remember. So, yeah, that was, and the heart, and my mom, she always says to me, she goes, I wish you wouldn't have, and I always, this is why I come back to my story. Your story involves other people, so I'm always careful of, respect out of everybody. But I had a conversation with my mom, and she was like, I wished, as a family, we didn't have to go through some of the stuff we did, and she felt bad. And I'm like, you know what? Maybe I'm crazy, that I'm so grateful for. I'm grateful for all of it, because it's made me who I am. It makes me,
Yep.
I can empathize with people. I can step back and look at things differently because of some stuff. So that was, as challenging as some stuff is, you either learn from it or you don't. And that'll be the outcome of your path too, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And then my second one would be when my daughter was sick. That was huge.
Yeah.
So much. And I shut down a lot, and I didn't want anyone to help me. And I just wanted to do everything. And I look at that differently now too, is that not quite the right way to do stuff, but that was a pivotal moment. And even in my marriage, when stuff goes, you see it a lot, if somebody has this kid that's sick, you know, the dynamic of your relationship.
Yeah.
It'll either get stronger
Yeah.
or it doesn't, right? So that had a little bit. And then my my divorce,
Mhm.
right? So scars, but so much healing from scars.
What did you, as far as the second two, what got you through them? Well, you got the scar, but what got you through the childhood, your child being sick? What
Yeah.
got you through that, and what got you through the divorce? What do you think? Just pick like one main item.
Through? You know, honestly, I think the first scar
Yeah.
got me through the second
The
and
forgiveness. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
third. Perspective.
Gotcha.
And just the desire for life too, right?
Yeah.
Like where you just, when you know stuff's hard, but you also know how beautiful and how exciting
Yeah.
and how wonderful,
Yeah.
which is crazy because when you're in the heat of stuff that's not so good,
Yeah.
right? But you know, even as a child with some of the stuff that we went through, you always knew there was love there, and that carries you through. And I always knew that, and that whenever you have kindness, whenever you look at things that are positive, like that will pull you through. And that's why, like, honestly, this morning, I always get it, every morning I write down 10 things I'm grateful of. And this morning I sat down, I wrote down everybody's name that was here on this trip, because I think it's just a zest for life. Once you know, if you just can, gratitude push through, because if you look for the negative, you'll find it. It's there.
Yeah.
It's in everybody's life. And the stories of the hardship, everybody has a story uniquely to themselves. But I always think that you also have a choice to how your outcome, right? What are you going to look at today,
Right. Right.
right?
Outstanding. Great stuff. So, as we close this out, I want to thank you for doing the show. Been a true pleasure. One, getting to train with you, getting to know you, and now getting you on film and just kind of learning a lot from you. Anything you want to plug business-wise or charity-wise? Anything you want to identify out there that you would like to have a little more attention on for the audience out here so they can go take a look at it?
Yeah, well, I think obviously your organization,
Woohoo.
Vets, right? Because it was wonderful. Like, it's such a great community idea of bringing people. Like, I mean, I think that's why it meshed well with us to do it together, because within my company, it's always mind, body, and soul, right? And I always go back to the sitting at the gym, right? Like you're working on your strength, and I see it happen with clients. I know when they walk through the door, they've got more to work on than lifting a kettlebell. I know that. And most people know that.
Yeah.
They're just not ready to admit that yet. So once they get, working on the strength, hopefully it opens up so they can look at some other stuff. But yeah, I think so the online, I guess my online training, it's easy to access me that way. But it's the connection. And I'm always like, I will connect with you as much as you need, right? I'll have clients on there that I haven't even really talked to because they just go on and they train because they're not looking for that other part. But then there's other ones, that way I've gotten to some really good friends out of even just training with people. So yeah.
Okay. Great.
That's good. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Jody.
Thank you.
Pleasure. True pleasure.